If you've played Clash Royale long enough, you know there's one card that has always been there for you. It's not flashy, it's not magical, it's not loud, it's just steady. The Knight. And today is his very first day at the Royal Training Camp, a place where new troops learn what they're made of. The training camp feels overwhelming. Everywhere the Knight looks, someone's performing something incredible. A wizard lifts fire straight from the air. A Valkyrie spins her axe in a perfect circle, creating a gentle breeze with every rotation. The Knight adjusts his simple sword. No spells, no special moves, just him. A trumpet echoes across the yard. The three musketeers march in, seasoned troops known across the kingdom for their discipline and precision. They're here to evaluate recruits, to decide who has potential and who needs more training. "Line up, all new troops step forward," the first musketeer announces. The Knight joins the row. To his left stands an archer with flawless posture. To his right, a giant whose footsteps alone make the ground tremble. "State your specialty," the first musketeer commands. The wizard conjures a fireball. "Elemental magic, ma'am. Fire, specialty." "Advanced offensive magic, excellent." Valkyrie demonstrates her spin attack. 3 rotations, axe never wavering. Area control and sustained melee damage. Legendary technique, well done. An archer shoots 3 arrows rapidly, all bullseyes at different distances. Long range, precision strikes. Superior accuracy, noted. The giant simply flexes. His message is clear. Raw, unstoppable power. Siege and tank capabilities, perfect for front assault. The first musketeer reaches Knight. She looks at his basic equipment, his unremarkable appearance. "And you? What's your specialty?" Knight opens his mouth, closes it. What does he say? That he's reasonably strong, that he's practiced until his arms ached. I'm reliable, ma'am." The second musketeer snorts. "Reliable," the first musketeer repeats. "Can you do anything else?" "I don't give up." "That's not a specialty, that's persistence." She marks her ledger. "Basic infantry." She moves on. Around him, recruits whisper. "Basic infantry, that's just cannon fodder." From a castle balcony, 2 figures watch. Prince and Dark Prince. Royal brothers, elite warriors. Everything Knight isn't. Prince leans on the railing. "That one down there looks completely lost." Dark Prince studies Knight. Or maybe he's just started where we started, at the bottom looking up. The first musketeer gathers the recruits. You've been sorted. Advanced combat, those with magic or legendary abilities. Elite tactics, those with royal training. And basic defense, those who show potential but require fundamental training. Knight is assigned to basic defense. It's not called cannon fodder officially, but everyone knows. The troops sent forward first, the ones who die, are so important warriors can win. An old soldier approaches, the training master, a grizzled veteran with more scars than stories. "First day blues?" he asks, voice rough but kind. "Isn't that obvious?" "You've got that everyone here is special except me look." The training master sits on a fence. "See that wizard? Born with magic. That Valkyrie trained since birth. They're extraordinary because they were born that way." He looks Knight in the eye. "But you chose to come here, knowing you're ordinary, knowing you'll be outshined. And you came anyway." Knight is quiet. "I just want to protect people, to matter somehow." "Then you're already ahead of half of these recruits. They want glory. You want purpose." The training master stands. "Basic defense means front line. You go first, not because you're special, but because someone has to. Even if no one remembers our names. Especially then. The unsung heroes are the real ones." Knight's first training is brutal. While advanced combat practices elaborate techniques, basic defense runs drills, shield wall formations, holding ground under pressure, basic sword work repeated until muscles scream. The archers train beside him, fellow basic troops. One archer, arms shaking from holding her bow, whispers, "Does it get easier?" Knight, shield arm burning, manages a smile. Let's hope so. They don't know it yet, but they're becoming friends. Basic troops stick together. The first day ends with Knight collapsed in the barracks, every muscle aching. In the distance, advanced combat recruits laugh, celebrating their progress. One guard mutters, "We're just background characters in their story." Knight stares at the ceiling. Is that true? Is he just filler? Someone to stand information while real heroes do the important work. But then he remembers the training master's words. Someone has to go first. He sits up, wincing, and looks at his shield. Scratched from training, nothing special, but solid, reliable, just like him. Maybe that's enough, he says quietly. An archer in the next bunk asks, "What?" Knight smiles, that genuine, slightly goofy smile that would become his trademark. Nothing. Just, let's go. Tomorrow, I mean. Let's see if we can do better tomorrow. Archer laughs, exhausted but encouraged. Yeah. Let's go. The first day taught Knight what he suspected. He wasn't special. No magic, no royal blood, no legendary techniques. Just an ordinary soldier in a world of extraordinary warriors. But he also learned something else. Something the training master understood. Someone has to be willing to be ordinary. Someone has to go first, hold the line, be reliable when flashy fails. Knight didn't know it yet, but his normalcy would become his greatest strength. His willingness to be just Knight would make him legendary. But that's a story for another day. For now, he's just a tired recruit, ready to wake up tomorrow and try again. And sometimes that is the most heroic thing of all. 3 months have passed since Knight's first day at the training camp. 3 months of drills, formations, and basic sword work. 3 months of being background, being ordinary, being the soldier no one notices. Today, that changes. Today, Knight faces his first real battle. The border outpost is small, just a wooden watchtower, basic fortifications, and a handful of troops. Knight stands guard with 2 archers and a bomber. It's quiet duty, the kind given to basic troops. Nothing ever happens here. Until it does. The attack comes at twilight. Goblins pour from the forest, dozens of them, green-skinned and vicious, wielding crude spears. This is the Goblin Gang, notorious raiders who prey on isolated outposts. Knight's heart hammers. This isn't training. These aren't wooden dummies. These are enemies trying to kill him. The first archer shouts, "Goblins, sound the alarm." Bomber runs for the bell, but a spear whistles past his head. He dives for cover. There's too many. The knight stands frozen at his post, shield raised, sword trembling. He's trained for this, drilled for it. But practice is nothing like this. Then something worse happens. The ground cracks, bony hands claw through dirt. Skeletons rise, the dead animated by dark magic. The skeleton army. This is Knight's first encounter with the supernatural, with enemies that shouldn't exist. One archer gasps, "Dark magic! We're not equipped for this." The bomber shouts, "Where are the reinforcements?" "Too far, we're on our own." Knight watches the skeletons advance, watches the goblins circle, watches his fellow soldiers, basic troops just like him, fighting desperately. The training master's words echo. Frontline means you go first, because someone has to. Knight is terrified. His hands shake. Every instinct screams to run. But the archers are fighting. Bomber is trapped. Someone has to go first. He takes one step forward, then another. Then he's running, screaming, half battle cry, half terror. His shield meets the first goblin's spear. His sword swings wildly but connects. The goblin falls. A skeleton lunges. Knight bashes it with his shield and bones scatter. He's not graceful, he's not skilled, but he is fighting. Knight's holding the center, the first archer shouts. She adjusts position, using the knight's defense to create better firing angles. Bomber throws bombs over the knight's shield. Explosions rock the goblin ranks. The battle becomes a blur. Knight doesn't think, he just reacts. Block, strike, block, strike. His training becomes instinct under pressure. A goblin tackles him. They roll in the dirt. Knight loses his sword. The goblin raises its weapon, but an arrow sprouts from its chest. "Thanks," the knight gasps. "It's what basic troops do," the archer shouts back. "We look out for each other." More skeletons rise, more goblins press forward. He's bleeding from a dozen cuts. But he doesn't retreat. Behind him are his friends. Thundering footsteps then shake the ground. A giant crashes through the tree line. Reinforcements from the main camp. Behind him, a cannon wheels into position. The giant roars, smashing goblins aside. The cannon opens fire, devastating the skeleton army. The tide turns. The goblins flee. The skeletons crumble to dust. The battle is over. Knight collapses to his knees, shield falling. His whole body shakes, not just exhaustion, but adrenaline finally releasing. He's alive. Somehow, impossibly, he's alive. The first archer approaches. "You saved us. When you charged forward, it gave us the opening we needed." Bomber limps over, grinning. "That was either the bravest thing I've ever seen, or the stupidest. Maybe both." Knight looks at them through exhausted eyes. "I was terrified. Every second I wanted to run." The second archer says quietly, "We all were. But you went first anyway. That's what made the difference." The giant approaches and helps Knight to his feet. He nods once. Simple acknowledgement. From a giant, it's the highest compliment. Knight manages his shaky smile. "Let's go." The giant's lips twitch. Almost a smile. That evening, back at the main camp, the story spreads. Knight, basic infantry, nothing special, held the line against goblins and skeletons. Some advanced combat recruits are skeptical. Probably just got lucky. But the soldiers who were there knew better. The archers tell anyone who will listen, he was scared. We saw it, but he charged anyway. Knight sits apart, staring at his damaged shield. The crack runs right through the center. He should replace it. But for some reason, he doesn't want to. That crack is proof. Proof he faced something terrifying and survived. The training master finds him. "Heard about your first battle? Goblins and skeletons, that's a rough introduction." "I froze," Knight admits. "For a moment, I completely froze." "Everyone does their first time. The question is, what you did after." "I was so scared." "Good." The training master taps the cracked shield. "Fear means you understand the danger. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's going forward despite it. And you did that. The others think I got lucky. Let them. The soldiers who fought beside you know the truth. And that's what matters." He stands. "Get some rest. Tomorrow you'll train harder, because now you know what real combat feels like." That night, Knight lies in his bunk, unable to sleep. His body aches, his mind replays the battle, every moment of terror, every close call. But he remembers the archers' faces when they thanked him, the giant's nod of respect, that feeling, terrifying but exhilarating, of standing between danger and people he cared about. The first archer whispers, "Knight, you awake?" "Yeah." "Does it get easier? The fear?" Knight thinks about lying, about being brave, but he remembers the training master's words. "I don't know, but maybe it's okay to be scared, as long as we don't let it stop us." "Let's go," she says, using his phrase. Knight smiles in the darkness. "Yeah, let's go." Knight's first real battle taught him something the training camp never could, that courage isn't about being fearless. It's about being terrified and standing anyway. He learned that basic troops aren't background characters. They're the ones who hold the line when the legends aren't available. They're the ones who protect each other because no one else will. and he learned that ordinary soldiers facing extraordinary threats can do extraordinary things. Not through magic or royal blood, but through simple, stubborn refusal to quit. Knight was beginning to understand what the training master meant. Someone has to go first, and maybe, just maybe, he was exactly the right person for that job. 6 months have passed since the Knight's first battle. 6 months of more fights, more scars, more moments of terror turned into small victories. Knight has become known among the basic troops not as a hero, but as someone reliable, someone who shows up, someone who goes first. Today, that reliability earns him something unexpected: a promotion. Knight stands in the throne room, armor polished for the first time in months, nervously shifting his weight. The king sits on his throne, flanked by guards, the mustached elite protectors of the castle. Behind them stands the princess, watching with curious eyes. The king's voice echoes through the chamber. "Knight, you have served with distinction at the border outposts. Your commanding officers speak highly of your reliability." There's that word again, reliable. Not brave, not exceptional, just reliable. Therefore, the king continues, "You are hereby assigned to princess guard duty. You will protect my daughter with your life." Knight's eyes widen. This is the most important assignment a common soldier can receive. The princess, the heart of the kingdom. "Yes, your majesty," Knight manages, his voice cracking slightly. The guards escort Knight to his new post, outside the princess's chambers. They brief him on his duties: constant vigilance, threat assessment, immediate response to any danger. One guard, his mustache particularly impressive, looks Knight up and down, skeptically. "You're younger than most princess guards and less decorated." He gestures to Knight's basic armor, devoid of medals or honors. "Why you?" Knight doesn't have an answer. He shrugs. "I'm reliable?" The guard's expression softens slightly. "Then be reliable. That's all she needs. Not a hero, just someone who won't leave their post." The princess emerges from her chambers, not in formal regalia, but in simpler clothes, a book tucked under her arm. She's younger than Knight expected, perhaps 16, with intelligent eyes and a kind smile. She looks at Knight with genuine curiosity. "You're my new guard?" Knight bows awkwardly. "Yes, your highness." "What's your name?" "Knight, your highness." "That's your title. What's your name?" Knight hesitates. No one ever asked him that before. "Just Knight, your highness. It's all I've ever been called." The princess's expression softens with something like sympathy. "Well, just Knight. I'm glad you're here. The last guard was so formal I felt like I was being watched by a statue." Knight manages a soft smile. "I promise to be less statue-like, your highness." She laughs, genuine and bright. "Good. I think we'll get along." Word spreads quickly through the castle. Knight, basic infantry, nothing special, has been assigned to protect the princess. Royal guards gather in the training yard, whispering. One recruit, young and eager, approaches Knight during his brief break. "How'd you do it? How'd you get chosen? What's special about you?" Knight thinks about the question. What is special about him? Nothing he can name. "Nothing," he says honestly. "I just showed up every day and did my job." "That's it?" "That's it." The recruit looked disappointed, like he expected some sort of secret technique or hidden talent, but another recruit, older and more thoughtful, nods slowly. Sometimes that's the hardest thing, just showing up. Days turn into weeks. Knight settles into his new routine. He stands guard outside the princess's chambers, walks beside her through castle gardens, maintains constant vigilance. Not glamorous, mostly it's standing still for hours, being alert, being present. But the princess treats him kindly. She asks about his day, shares stories from her studies, sometimes reads aloud from her books while he stands guard. Knight finds himself looking forward to these moments, not because he's infatuated, but because she makes him feel seen. like he matters beyond just being a body with a shield. One afternoon, she asks, "Don't you get bored just standing there?" "Sometimes," Knight admits. "But I think about why I'm here. You're important, worth protecting. Even though you barely know me, I know you're kind to someone like me. That's enough." The attack comes at midnight. Knight is on watch, fighting exhaustion, when he hears it. The distinctive whistle of a goblin barrel being launched. His training kicks in immediately. The barrel crashes through a high window, breaking it open. 3 goblins spill out, armed with daggers, moving silently towards the princess chambers. Knight doesn't shout for help. There's no time. He just moves. His shield slams into the first goblin, sending it sprawling. His sword catches the second before it can reach the door. The third is faster, more skilled. It ducks the knight's strike and lunges past him. For a heartbeat, the knight thinks he's failed. The goblin's hand touches the door handle. Then, Knight's training, months of drilling, repetition, of being reliable takes over. He doesn't think. His body just knows. His shield comes around in a wide arc, catching the goblin from behind, crushing it against the doorframe. All 3 assassins down, the entire fight, a whole 10 seconds. Guards arrive moments later, weapons drawn, responding to the noise. They find Knight standing over 3 unconscious goblins, breathing hard, shield raised, still blocking the princess's door. The princess emerges, awakened by the commotion. She sees the goblins, Knight's defensive stance, and her face goes pale. You stopped them." Knight lowers his shield. "That's my job, Your Highness." "You could have been killed." "Better me than you." The simplicity of his answer seems to affect her. She steps forward and does something unprecedented. She hugs him, briefly, before the guards can protest about protocol. "Thank you," she whispers. "Thank you for being awake, for being here." Knight doesn't know what to say. He just nods. The next morning, Knight is summoned before the king. He expects commendation, maybe even a medal. Instead, the king barely looks at him. "Good work, soldier. The assassins have been interrogated. Goblin gang hired them. We're increasing security. You may return to your post." That's it. No ceremony, no recognition beyond good work. King's already discussing other matters with his advisors. Knight bows and leaves. As he walks back to his post, one of the mustached guards catches up to him. "Don't take it personally. The king has a kingdom to run. He can't stop for every soldier who does their job." "I wasn't expecting anything." "Good, because the people who matter already know." The guard gestures back toward the princess's chamber. "She knows. We know. That's enough." Knight returns to his position outside the princess's door. The spot where he fought the goblins has been cleaned, but he can still see slight scuff marks on the stone floor, evidence that something happened, that he mattered, even if only for 10 seconds. The princess opens her door, surprised to see him already back. "Knight, I thought you'd rest after last night." "I'm your guard, Your Highness. This is where I belong." She studies him for a moment, then says something that changes how he thinks about himself. "The king might not say it, but I will. You saved my life, not because you're the strongest guard or the most decorated, but because you were there. You were awake and alert and doing your job when it mattered most." Knight feels his throat tighten. "I was just being reliable, Your Highness." "Exactly," she smiles. "Never underestimate the value of reliability. Flashy warriors come and go, but someone who's always there, who never leaves their post, that's rare. It's precious." As the princess returns to her chambers, Knight takes his position. Same post, same duty, same ordinary soldier. But something has shifted inside him. He understands now why he's been chosen. Not for being special, but for being exactly who he is. Someone who shows up, who pays attention, who stays at his post even when it's boring. Even when nothing happens. Because the one time something did happen, he was ready. The royal recruits pass by, some still envious of his assignment. One asks, "Is it everything you thought it would be?" Knight considers the question. Standing guard isn't glamorous. It won't make him famous. The king barely acknowledges he exists. But the princess feels safe, and that matters more than anything else. "Yeah," Knight says with his characteristic smile. "Let's go." Knight learned something crucial that night. Purpose doesn't come from recognition or medals or the king's approval. It comes from knowing your work matters to someone, from protecting something worth protecting. He wasn't the strongest guard, he wasn't the most skilled, but he was there, alert and ready when it counted. And in the end, that's what heroism often looks like. Not grand gestures or legendary battles, but quiet vigilance, steady presence, and the willingness to stand between danger and someone who matters. Knight found his purpose, and it was enough. 4 months have passed since Knight saved the princess from assassins. 4 months of standing guard, of being reliable, of finding purpose in quiet vigilance. His life has settled into comfortable routine, wake, guard, sleep, repeat. He is content with ordinary. Today, ordinary ends. Knight is summoned to the castle war room, a place he's never been, reserved for strategic planning and important decisions. When he enters, his stomach drops. Standing around the war table are legends. Pekka, the ultimate warrior, towering in black armor, silent and terrifying. Wizard, robes crackling with barely contained magic, staff glowing. Valkyrie, the legendary berserker, her massive axe resting casually on her shoulder. These are the kingdom's elite strike force, and somehow, inexplicably, Knight has been called to join them. The king's advisor, a stern man with maps spread across the table, begins the briefing. A baby dragon has been terrorizing the mountain villages. It is young but dangerous, crops burned, livestock killed. The villagers are evacuating. We need it eliminated or driven off. He looks at the assembled warriors. This is a surgical strike. Elite personnel only. Knight raises his hand hesitantly, but, excuse me, why am I here? Wizard scoffs openly. Good question. Why's the basic soldier here? This is a job for specialists. Valkyrie doesn't even look at Knight. He'll slow us down. Pekka just stares, which is somehow more intimidating than words. The advisor's expression is neutral. Knight is included because dragons are unpredictable. They target the weakest member of any group. They need someone who can survive being targeted, while the specialists do their work. A moment of silence as everyone processes this. Wizard laughs bitterly. So, he's bait. He's tactical necessity, the advisor corrects. Knight, your job is simple. Stay alive and keep the dragon's attention. Can you do that? Knight's mouth is dry. He's not being chosen for his skill. He's being chosen to be the target, the distraction, the expendable one. But he thinks about the villagers evacuating their homes, about people who need help. Yes, sir. I can do that. Valkyrie mutters, let's hope so. The journey to the mountains is brutal. Pekka marches tirelessly, never slowing. Wizard floats occasionally, conserving energy with magic. Valkyrie's conditioning is legendary. She barely breaks a sweat. Knight struggles to keep up. His armor weighs more than their enchanted equipment. His feet blister, his lungs burn in the mountain air. Wizard glances back. You're falling behind. I'm keeping up, Knight gasps. Barely. Wizard shakes his head. That's why basic troops shouldn't be on elite missions. Valkyrie doesn't even slow down. If you can't handle the hike, how will you handle a dragon? Knight doesn't answer. He just focuses on putting one foot in front of the other. Reliable. That's what he is. He'll get there, even if he's last. They reach the mountain village at dusk, abandoned, smoke still rising from burning buildings. Above them, on a rocky outcrop, they spot the lair. The baby dragon is visible, curled around his collection of scorched bones and treasures. Pekka surveys the terrain, then points. She's assigning positions. Wizard to the left, elevation for magic strikes. Valkyrie to the right, ready to charge. Pekka takes the center position, the primary threat. And Knight is assigned to stand in the open, exposed, obvious bait. Remember, Wizard says almost sympathetically, your job is to survive, not fight, just don't die too quickly. Knight adjusts his shield. Let's go. Valkyrie actually pauses. You're either very brave or very stupid. Probably both, Knight admits. Knight walks into the clearing, shield raised, heart hammering. The baby dragon notices immediately. It's young, but its predatory instincts are sharp. It spots Knight standing alone, unprotected and weak. The dragon unfurls its wings and roars. Even young, the sound is terrifying. Fire drips from its jaws. Knight's every instinct screams to run, but he plants his feet. Someone has to be the target. Someone has to go first. The dragon dives. Fire erupts around the knight. His shield absorbs most of it, but heat sears his exposed skin. He rolls, barely avoiding the dragon's claws. It is faster than he expected, more vicious. While the dragon focuses on Knight, the specialists strike. Wizard's magic slams into the dragon's flank, ice crystals forming, slowing its movements. Valkyrie charges with her legendary spin attack, her axe cutting deep. Pekka closes in her massive sword, ready for the killing blow. But the dragon is smart. It realizes it's being attacked from multiple sides. It needs to eliminate threats. It targets the knight, the weakest, easiest to kill. The dragon pins Knight against the rock, fire building in its throat. Knight raises his shield, knowing it won't be enough. Not against this much fire, not at this range. He's going to die being bait. But he doesn't close his eyes. He watches the dragon, sees its young, wild eyes, and realizes something. It's not evil, it's scared, defending territory against invaders. "I'm sorry," Knight whispers. "I'm just doing my job too." The dragon hesitates, just for a heartbeat. Something in Knight's voice, his posture, his refusal to look away. A moment of understanding between prey and predator. Then Pekka arrives. Sword crashing down, not killing the dragon, but wounding it severely. Wizard's magic chains it. Valkyrie's axe destroys one wing. The baby dragon, realizing it's beaten, breaks free with desperate strength and flees, flying awkwardly with its damaged wing, retreating deeper into the mountains where humans won't follow. Mission accomplished. The dragon won't return. Knight collapses, his shield smoking, his armor scorched. He survived. Barely, but he did survive. Wizard approaches, examining Knight with something like surprise. "You didn't die. That's something." Valkyrie sheaths her axe. "You held its attention while we struck. That took guts, more than I expected from basic infantry." Pekka extends her massive hand and helps Knight to his feet. She nods, the highest compliment from the silent warrior. Then she does something unexpected. She taps his scorched shield twice. Acknowledgement and respect. Knight manages a weak smile. "So, I do okay?" Wizard actually chuckles. "For bait. You were perfect." But there's no mockery in his tone now, just honest assessment. The journey back is different. Wizard doesn't complain about Knight's pace. Valkyrie actually slows down to match his limping stride. Pekka walks beside him, a silent guardian ensuring he makes it home. At one point, resting at a mountain stream, Valkyrie says, "I judged you before we started. Thought you were dead weight." "I was bait," Knight said simply. "No, bait is disposable. You were the shield. You stood between that dragon and us while we worked. That's different." She looks at him directly. "That's what soldiers like you do, isn't it? Stand between danger and everyone else." Knight hasn't thought about it that way. "I guess so. It's no less important than what we do. It's just different." When they return to the castle, Knight expects to be dismissed back to his guard duty. Instead, Wizard stops him. "Knight, I owe you an apology. I thought you'd be useless, but you did exactly what we needed. You survived and held that dragon's focus. That's skill in itself. I was terrified the entire time." "We know. We saw it." The wizard's expression softens. "But you stood there anyway. Fear plus action equals courage. Remember that." Pekka, leaving for her quarters, pauses. She turns back to Knight and salutes, a simple gesture, but from her it means everything. Then she's gone. Knight returns to his post outside the princess's chamber. Same position, same duty. But he feels different now. The princess emerges, immediately noticing his scorched armor. "Knight, what happened?" Dragon mission, Your Highness. That was a tactical necessity. Are you hurt? Just singed. I'm fine. She studies him with concern. You're always fine, even when you're not. She touches his scorched shield gently. You know what I think? I think being the ordinary one on extraordinary missions is the hardest job. Everyone expects the legends to succeed, but you have to survive being targeted, being underestimated, being the weakest link. Knight hasn't thought about it that way. The princess continues, and you do survive. Hold your ground, you do what needs to be done. She smiles. That's not ordinary, that's exceptional. Knight learned something crucial on that mission. Being the ordinary one among legends doesn't mean being useless. Someone has to be the shield while the others strike. Someone has to hold attention while the specialists do their work. Someone has to survive being targeted. It's not less important, it's just different. A Knight, reliable, persistent, ordinary Knight, was exactly the right person for the job. Not despite his ordinariness, but because of it. He didn't need to be the strongest or most skilled. He just needed to be there, to stand firm, to refuse to quit. And in the end, that was enough to earn him respect from legends. 3 months have passed since the dragon mission. Knight has found his rhythm. Guard duty, standing his post, being reliable. He's earned respect from legends and loyalty from fellow basic troops. Today, that rhythm is disrupted. Today, the future arrives. The court is assembled. The Knight stands on a platform beaming with pride as a new warrior is presented. Mini P.E.K.K.A., smaller than her massive counterpart, but faster, more efficient, more deadly. She moves with mechanical precision, dual swords gleaming. The Knight's voice booms. Behold the future of our frontline forces, stronger than our standard infantry, faster than our basic troops. This is the evolution of combat. Knight watches from the back, a cold feeling settling in his stomach. The king is talking about replacing soldiers like him. Mini P.E.K.K.A. demonstrates her capabilities. She tears through practice dummies in seconds. When compared to a standard soldier, the difference is stark. What takes a soldier 30 seconds, she accomplishes in 5. The king declares, this is the future. Our enemies will not face ordinary soldiers, but warriors like this. Knight hears the emphasis on ordinary. That word that used to be a descriptor now feels like judgment. Knight is summoned to the captain's office. You're being reassigned to training duty. We need experienced soldiers to instruct the royal recruits. But the Princess Guard, Mini P.E.K.K.A. will be assuming primary guard duties. He'll remain on rotation, but Knight understands. He's being phased out. Gently, respectfully, but definitely. This is an important role, training the next generation. When do I start? Tomorrow. The next day, a new class of royal recruits is graduating. Young, eager, fresh. One recruit, cocky and confident, approaches. You're our instructor. You're from the old guard? I suppose so, Knight says, the word old stinging. No offense, but we've already learned the basics. We're hoping for advanced training, not old school stuff. Another recruit adds, we've heard you're reliable, but that's foundational. We want to specialize. Knight looks at these young soldiers who think reliability is boring. Get into formation. Let's see what you've learned. The exercise is simple, a basic shield wall defense. They fail spectacularly. Their formation breaks. Shields don't overlap, gaps everywhere. Within 30 seconds, they'd be dead in real combat. Stop, what was that? The cocky recruit looks confused. We were defending? You were dying. Your shield wall had more holes than wall. Knight steps forward. Show me your basic defensive stance. They do. It's wrong. All of them. Knight runs them through drills they consider beneath them. Basic blocks, basic footwork. The fundamentals that keep soldiers alive. One recruit grumbles. Why are we learning this? We have no equipment. What happens when that equipment breaks? The basics keep you breathing. Fancy moves get you killed. The recruits watch with disappointment. A week later, another warrior arrives, Mega Knight, massive, armored, and powerful. Everything Knight is, but more. Stronger, better, more intimidating. The king assigns Mega Knight to Princess Guard duty, Knight's position. Knight watches from the training ground as Mega Knight takes his post. Same spot Knight stood for months. Same duty, just, well, better. That evening, the archers find him sitting alone. Knight, you okay? Fine. You're not fine. Knight stares at his cracked shield. I'm being replaced. They don't need ordinary soldiers anymore. Why keep someone like me? Because you're Knight. You're the one who trained us. You went first when we were scared. But I'm outdated. The first archer takes his hand. You're a veteran. There's a difference. 2 days later, news arrives. Mini P.E.K.K.A was sent on a goblin raid. It went wrong. She was too aggressive, didn't know when to retreat, couldn't adapt. Soldiers were injured because she followed programming instead of thinking tactically. She's powerful, but not a leader, not reliable in the way that matters. That evening, Knight passes the princess's chambers. Inside, the princess tries to read. Mega Knight stands at attention, perfectly still, perfectly intimidating. But there's no warmth, no humanity, just mechanical protection. The princess sees Knight. Knight, please come in. Mega Knight blocks the doorway. Let him through, Knight. How are you? Fine, Your Highness. I miss our conversations. Mega Knight is effective, but he doesn't talk. I feel like I'm guarded by furniture. The princess looks at Knight with longing. Could you request to return? Knight's heart lifts, then sinks. I'm assigned to training now. The next morning, the king summons Knight. My daughter has made a request. She wants you reinstated as her primary guard. Knight blinks. Mega Knight's more capable of protection, yes. But my daughter needs someone she can talk to, someone human. She said, I don't want the strongest guard, I want the one I trust. The king looks at Knight properly. You're not the most powerful, not the most efficient, but you're reliable in ways that matter beyond combat. My daughter trusts you, and her trust is worth more than any amount of power. When do I start? Immediately. Knight returns to his post outside Princess's chambers, his spot, the one that matters. The princess opens the door, relief flooding her face. He came back. I never really left, Your Highness. I know. Mega Knight was impressive, but he didn't feel safe. Felt like a weapon. She smiles. You feel safe, like having a friend who happens to carry a shield. Knight resumes his stance, and everything feels right again. Same post, same duty, same ordinary soldier. But now he understands something critical. Being replaced isn't the same as being obsolete. Knight learned that new warriors can be stronger, faster, more efficient. But they can't replace the human elements, trust, understanding, the ability to be present in ways that matter beyond combat. Mini P.E.K.K.A was powerful but couldn't lead. Mega Knight was effective but couldn't connect. They were impressive, but they weren't what was needed. Knight wasn't outdated. He'd evolved into something technology couldn't replicate. Someone reliable not just in combat, but in humanity. And sometimes, that's the most valuable thing of all. 2 months have passed since Knight returned to Princess Guard duty. 2 months of peace, routine, of standing his post. But peace, of course, never lasts forever. Today, war comes to the kingdom's doorstep in a way no one expected. Today, Knight will learn that surviving when others don't is its own kind of curse. Knight has been temporarily reassigned to reinforce a border outpost, the same one where he fought his first battle years ago. With him are familiar faces, the 2 archers who fought beside him against the goblins, Bomber with his explosive personality, and a handful of other basic troops. They're laughing, sharing stories, comfortable in each other's company. The first archer nudges Knight. Remember when you froze during your first fight here? Knight grins. I remember you saving my life with that arrow. We saved each other. That's what basic troops do. It's a good moment, a peaceful one, the kind that makes you forget danger exists. And then the warning horn sounds. The attack comes without warning. Not a raiding party, not goblins or skeletons. This is a full military assault. Enemy kingdom forces have positioned Expo and mortar siege weapons on the ridges surrounding the outpost. The first bombardment hits before they can react. The watchtower explodes into splinters. Part of the wall collapses and the projectiles keep coming. Methodical, devastating, impossible to escape. Knight shouts over the chaos, "Everyone to cover! Get behind the reinforced barriers." But there isn't enough cover. There's never enough cover against siege weapons. The archers try to return fire, aiming for the distant siege weapons. Their arrows fall short. The range is too great. They're being bombarded from positions they can't even reach. Bomber attempts a counterattack, trying to get close enough to destroy an Expo. A mortar shell lands directly in his path. The explosion throws him backwards, and he doesn't get up. Knight runs to him, dragging him behind cover, but Bomber is already gone. Soldier who joked with them minutes ago is just gone. "No," Knight whispers. Another bombardment. The second archer is hit by debris. She falls, screaming. Knight crawls to her, but there's too much blood, too much damage. "Knight," she gasps. "The others, get them out." She doesn't finish the sentence. The bombardment is relentless, systematic. The enemy isn't trying to capture the outpost, they're trying to erase it. Knight watches soldiers he's trained with, fought beside, shared meals with, get cut down one by one. The first archer is still fighting, still losing arrows with shaking hands. "We need to retreat," she shouts. "There's no defending this." The order hasn't come, because everyone who could give the order's dead. Knight looks around at what remains of his squad. 5 soldiers left out of 20. The outpost is rubble. There's no strategic value in staying. But abandoning a post without orders is desertion. Another shell hits. 3 soldiers become 2. Knight makes a decision. Fall back. Everyone fall back to the secondary position. They run. Knight goes last, his shield raised against the bombardment. A shell explodes near him. The force sends him tumbling, his shield cracking further. But he gets up. He always gets up. The first archer pulls him to his feet. "Come on, we're almost..." Then a mortar shell lands between them. The explosion throws them in opposite directions. Knight's ears ring, his vision blurs. When he can see again, the archer's on the ground, not moving. He crawls to her. She's still breathing, barely, but alive. A healer arrives with reinforcements, too late to save the outpost, but in time to save survivors. She immediately starts working on the first archer, her magic glowing. "How many?" Knight asks through the ringing in his ears. The healer's face is grim. "You and her. That's all I found alive." 2 survivors out of 20. Knight looks back at the destroyed outpost, bodies in the rubble. Soldiers who minutes ago were joking about old battles. "I should have moved faster. Should have ordered retreat sooner. Should have..." "You did what you could," the healer says, not looking up from her work. "Sometimes that's not enough." 3 days later, Knight stands in the throne room. His armor's cleaned, his wounds bandaged. The king presents him with a commendation for heroic leadership under fire and ensuring survivors made it to safety. The court applauds. Knight feels nothing. "You're a credit to the kingdom," the king declares. "Your bravery saved lives." Knight wants to scream. His bravery? He survived. That's not bravery. That's just luck. Random chance that put his body behind cover when shells landed, that made the healer arrive when she did. He accepts the medal and mechanically returns to his quarters. That night, Knight sits alone, staring at the medal. Around him, the celebration of his heroism continues elsewhere in the castle. But all he can see are the faces of the soldiers who didn't come back. Bomber's last joke, the second archer's final words. The first archer lying in the medical ward, alive but changed forever. Why did he survive? He's not the best soldier, not the fastest, nor the strongest, not the smartest. So why him? The memorial service is held in the castle courtyard. Families of the fallen are present, parents, siblings, children. Knight stands at attention with the other survivors, but he can barely look at them. A widow approaches him afterward. Her husband was one of the soldiers at the outpost. Knight braces for anger, for blame. Instead, she takes his hands. "Thank you for being there with him. My husband's last letter mentioned you. He said you made them all braver, that you went first so that they could follow." Knight's throat tightens. "I couldn't save him. I'm sorry." "You were there. That's all that matters." She squeezes his hands. "He died with someone he trusted. That's not nothing." Knight visits the first archer in the medical ward. She's awake, staring at the ceiling, her left arm heavily bandaged. "Hey," Knight says quietly. "Hey." Her voice is flat. "I say, I might not be able to draw a bow again. Nerve damage." Knight sits beside her bed, not knowing what to say. "We were just talking," she continues, laughing. "And then everyone was dead." She finally looks at him. "Why us? Why did we live when they didn't?" "I don't know. It's not good enough. There has to be a reason. Some meaning." "Maybe there isn't one. Maybe it's just random." She turns away. "Then their deaths meant nothing." "No." Knight's voice is firm. Their deaths meant exactly what their lives meant. There were soldiers who stood their post, who protected their kingdom. The randomness of who survived doesn't change that. But he's not sure he believes his own words. Weeks pass. Knight returns to his guard duty, but he's different, quieter and more distant. He flinches at loud noises. He sees the fallen soldiers in his dreams. The princess notices. "Knight, you're not yourself. Please, talk to me." "I'm fine, Your Highness." "You're not fine. You haven't been since the siege." She steps closer. "It's okay not to be fine." Knight's carefully maintained composure cracks. "Why did I survive? There were better soldiers than me. They had families, they had futures. I'm just Knight. Why me?" The princess speaks gently. "Surviving isn't something to feel guilty about. You didn't choose to live while they died. That's not how war works." "Then how does it work? Because from where I'm standing, it feels like punishment." "Maybe it's an opportunity." She meets his eyes. "You lived. You have the chance to honor them by continuing to do what you all did together, protecting people, being reliable, standing your post." It feels like I'm moving on, like I'm forgetting them. "No, it means you're carrying them forward. Their sacrifice, their service, their memory, you carry it all. And that's heavier than dying with them would have been." Knight learned the cruelest lesson of war, that surviving when your friends don't is its own kind of death. That carrying their memory is harder than dying beside them. There's no good answer to why me. But he also learned something else. The widow's words. He died with someone he trusted. Knight's survival wasn't heroic, it wasn't random. But what he did with that survival, whether he let guilt destroy him or whether he honored the fallen by continuing their work, that was his choice. Survivor's guilt doesn't disappear. It becomes part of you. You can choose whether it breaks you or drives you forward. Knight was still learning which path to take. 1 month has passed since the siege that took Knight's squad. 1 month of guilt, of nightmares, of wondering why he survived. He goes through the motions, but the light behind his eyes has dimmed. Today, that'll change. Today, Knight will face a choice that defines everything he's become. Alarm bells ring. An emergency war council is called. The war room fills with the kingdom's defenders, Prince, Wizard, Valkyrie, P.E.K.K.A, and basic troops. The king's advisor is grim. A massive enemy force is approaching. Giant skeleton leading barbarians and skeletal warriors. They'll reach the kingdom by nightfall. Prince studies the map. "We can meet them at the valley." "There's not enough time. They reach the bridge at Raven's Gorge. They'll have a direct path to the castle. We need time for evacuations. Wizard traces the route. The bridge is a choke point, but it would require someone to hold it while we position our forces. Heavy silence. Everyone understands. Someone would have to stand alone against an army. Prince speaks first. I'll hold the bridge. You're needed at the main defense, the king interrupts. Wizard raises his staff. My magic can hold them. You're essential for the western siege. You're needed elsewhere. Pekka steps forward silently. You're our best chance against their giant skeleton. Every elite warrior is too valuable. Their silence stretches. They need someone expendable. Knight's voice cuts through. I'll hold the bridge. Everyone turns. He's standing straighter than he has in weeks. Knight, you don't have to, Prince begins. Yes, I do. I'm not strong enough for the big battles, not magical enough for siege weapons, but I can stand on a bridge and refuse to move. He manages his old smile. Someone has to go first. Let it be me. The king looks at Knight, then nods. How much time do you need, advisor? 2 hours for evacuation and troop repositioning. Can you hold the bridge for 2 hours against an army? Knight thinks about the fallen soldiers, about carrying their memory forward. I can try. Let's go. An hour later, Knight stands alone at Raven's Gorge Bridge. It's narrow, wide enough for 3 soldiers abreast. Behind him is the kingdom. Before him, the approach, where a small army will soon appear. He checks his equipment, his notched sword, his cracked shield, his dented armor. Nothing special, just a knight. He plants his feet and waits. The sound reaches him first, thousands of feet marching. Then he sees them, barbarians, skeleton warriors. And towering above, the giant skeleton, bomb swinging from one skeletal hand. Knight's heart hammers, every instinct screams to run. But he remembers, someone has to go first. The lead barbarian sees Knight standing alone and laughs. One soldier against an army. Knight raises his shield. You're not getting past me, not while I'm breathing. The first barbarian charges. Knight's shield deflects. His sword strikes. The barbarian falls. The second charges. Knight blocks, strikes, holds his ground. 3 barbarians rush simultaneously. The bridge is narrow. They can only come 3 at a time. Knight has mastered defensive formations. Block, strike, hold. Block, strike, hold. The rhythm of survival. Minutes pass. Knight's arms burn. His shield splinters, but he doesn't retreat. Skeletal warriors join the assault. Weaker but endless. Knight's sword shatters skeletons, but more replace them. His shield cracks further. Blood seeps from a dozen cuts. He's tiring, the army is not. But he stands. The army parts. The giant skeleton approaches, hollow eyes fixed on Knight. 3 times his size, bomb swinging ominously. Knight knows he can't win. If that bomb reaches him, he dies. If it crosses the bridge, it reaches the kingdom. But the evacuation horn hasn't sounded yet. He needs more time. The giant skeleton steps down onto the bridge. Each footstep shakes the stone. It looks at the knight, this small soldier with a broken shield and damaged armor. Curious. Why doesn't this one run? Knight's cheerfulness fades. And this is the end. But he doesn't flinch. You're not getting past me. Not while I'm breathing. The giant skeleton raises its bomb. The evacuation horn sounds. 2 hours. Kingdom's safe. Knight's legs give out. He collapses. Shield falling. He's given everything. The bomb descends. Thunder of hooves, battle cries. The main army arrives. Prince leading cavalry. Wizard's magic blazing. Pekka charging. They crash into the enemy. Pekka reaches the giant skeleton. Her sword knocks the bomb aside. It rolls off the bridge, detonating in the gorge below. Knight sees none of it. He's collapsed, barely conscious, his body finally surrendering. Knight wakes in the medical ward, a healer adjusting his bandages. 2 hours. You held that bridge for 2 hours against an army. Do you have any idea how insane that is? Did everyone get out? Everyone. Every civilian evacuated. Every soldier positioned. Kingdom safe. She leans closer because you refused to move. My shield broke. It held long enough. You did the impossible, Knight. Knight closed his eyes. I just did my job. Visitors come. Prince clasps Knight's hand. Respect beyond words. Wizard admits, Hal wouldn't have lasted half that time. Valkyrie leaves her personal blade. The warrior's tribute. Pekka visits last. She removes her helmet, something she rarely does, and bows. Deep respect from the kingdom's greatest warrior. The princess comes daily, reading to Knight. On the 4th day, she sets down her book. You almost died. It was my job. It was a suicide mission. Everyone knew it. Why? Knight thinks about the fallen soldiers, about carrying their memory forward. Because someone had to go first. Because I understood surviving them wasn't luck or a curse. It was a responsibility. They trusted me to keep protecting people. The bridge was where I could honor that. She takes his hand. You're not just a knight anymore. You're a knight who held Raven's Gorge, the soldier who stood alone against an army and didn't break. Knight manages his old smile. Still just doing my job. Let's go. She laughs through her tears. Let's go. Knight learned the ultimate lesson that day, that true heroism isn't about having the strength to win impossible fights. Shit. It was about having the courage to stand in them anyway. About being the line that doesn't break, even when breaking would be easier. He wasn't the strongest. He wasn't the most skilled, but he was willing to stand when no one else could. To go first, into impossible odds, to be expendable, so that others could live. And in doing so, he proved that ordinary soldiers doing extraordinary things are the truest heroes of all. Knight had made peace with surviving, not by forgetting the fallen, but by honoring them through sacrifice, through standing his ground when everything screamed at him to run. He was just Knight, and that was everything. 3 weeks have passed since Knight held Raven's Gorge Bridge. 3 weeks of recovery, of healing flesh, if not spirit. The kingdom celebrates him as a hero. Songs are sung, stories are told. But Knight feels none of it. Because the hero everyone celebrates can barely stand, and Knight doesn't know who he is if he can't fight. Healer works with Knight daily, pushing him through painful exercises. His shoulder was shattered, ribs cracked, sword arm damaged, injuries that end military careers. Lift your arm, Healer instructs, as high as you can. Knight tries, his arm trembles. He makes it halfway, then drops. Pain laces through his shoulder. Better than yesterday. Yesterday I made it a third of the way. Will I ever fight again? Healer's hesitation is answer enough. Your body needs time. That's not an answer. That's the only answer I have, Knight. Your body took damage it wasn't meant to survive. Recovery isn't guaranteed to be complete. Knight stares at his hands, scarred, trembling, weak. The hands that held a shield for 2 hours can now barely grip a cup without shaking. What am I if I can't fight? I'm just Knight. Fighting is all I am. Healer sits beside him. You're also the soldier who trained recruits, who protected the princess. Fighting is what you did, not who you are. But Knight doesn't believe it. Without his shield, his sword, what's left? The princess visits every day, reading to Knight, refusing to let him sink into despair. But Knight can barely focus. One day, she sets down her book. Knight, you're not here. Talk to me. Really talk. Knight's walls crack. I feel broken. Not just my body, everything. I survived the siege when my squad didn't. I held the bridge, but destroyed my body. Everyone calls me a hero, but I just feel empty. Royal recruits visit, the ones Knight trained. "Knight, we heard what you did. It's legendary. You're our hero. When you've recovered, will you train us again?" Knight tries to smile, but when they ask about his recovery, he has no answer. Their enthusiasm crushes him. He's not the hero they think he is. He's a broken soldier who got lucky. Days pass. Knight becomes more withdrawn. He stops engaging with visitors, gives short answers, stares at nothing for hours. Prince visits. "We need you back as a leader, a trainer. Find someone else." Wizard comes. "Your tactical mind is valuable." "I'm tired. Please leave." Even Valkyrie tries. Recovering is a part of being a warrior. But Knight has stopped listening. He's given up. Then one night, everything changes. Knight is half asleep when he hears it. Shuffle of feet, whisper of weapons. His training screams alarm. Goblins, 3 of them, heading toward the royal quarters. Between them and their target is only the medical ward corridor. Knight tries to stand. His legs barely support him. He has no weapon, no armor, no strength. Every rational thought says call for guards, but his body moves on instinct. Knight grabs a crutch, pushes himself upright. The goblins see him, a broken soldier in a nightgown, and laugh. The first goblin charges. Knight swings the crutch, it connects. The goblin stumbles. Knight uses his hospital bed as a shield, pinning the other goblin against the wall. The third tries to dodge around. Knight throws himself forward, grabbing its leg. They crash to the floor, his ribs scream, his shoulder tears. But he holds on. Guards arrive. They find Knight on the floor, barely conscious, bleeding from reopened wounds. But with one goblin pinned beneath him, and 2 others incapacitated. Healer rushes in. "Your stitches, you could have died." Knight, breathing hard, manages to gasp. "Let's go." And despite her anger, the healer laughs through tears. "There you are. I knew you were still in there." The princess arrives. Having been the goblin's target, she sees Knight bloodied and broken, but with that stubborn determination in his eyes. She kneels beside him. "You can barely stand. You had no weapon." "No time. They were heading for your quarters. So you fought them with a crutch in a hospital bed." And won. Knight's smile is genuine for the first time in weeks. "I can't swing a sword, can't hold a shield properly, but I can still get in the way." The princess touches his face. "You scared me." "Can't promise it won't happen again." "I know. That's what scares me." As healer rebandages him, Knight feels something shift. His body is broken, true. He may never fight like he used to, also true. But when danger came, his body moved. Clumsily, painfully, but it moved. Because being a protector isn't about having a perfect body. It's about being willing to stand between danger and what matters. He did that with 2 good arms and a shield. He can do it with 1 working arm and a crutch. The equipment changes, the willingness doesn't. The next day, Knight is already attempting exercises when healer arrives. Someone's motivated. I realized something. I was asking the wrong question. What question? I kept asking, what am I if I can't fight? The real question is, what do I want to be regardless of what I can do? Knight lifts his arm. It trembles, but he doesn't give up. I want to be someone who stands between danger and people who matter, however that looks. Healer smiles. Then let's figure out how to make that possible. The weeks that follow are brutal. Knight works harder at recovery than anything before. Not to become what he was, that may be impossible, but to become whatever he can be. Some exercises succeed, some fail. His sword arm remains weak, but his left arm grows stronger. His shield work improves despite shoulder damage. He learns to fight differently, not the way he used to, but a new way, more defensive, more strategic, using intelligence where strength fails. The princess watches him train one afternoon. You're different. Broken. Changed. There's a difference. The knight who left for the bridge was running from guilt. The knight who came back is fighting to live despite everything. Knight pauses. I think I'm okay with being broken, as long as I'm still useful. You were never just useful. You are essential, not because you're the strongest, but because you refuse to quit. Knight learned that trauma doesn't heal in straight lines. Some days are progress, some days are setbacks. Some days you fight goblins with crutches because your body moves before your brain says it's impossible. Recovery isn't about returning to who you were. It's about discovering who you can be despite everything you've lost. Knight wouldn't be the same soldier. His body wouldn't allow it. But he could be something else. Something forged through pain, strengthened by survival, defined not by what he lost, but by what he refused to surrender. His courage, his purpose, his stubborn determination to stand between danger and people who matter. He was still just Knight, still ordinary, still broken, but also still standing, and that was enough. 2 months have passed since Knight's recovery began. He's back on his feet, changed, scarred, but standing. His sword arm is weaker, his movements are slower, but he's adapted. The kingdom wanted to give him a ceremonial position, a comfortable retirement disguised as honor. Knight refused. He asked for one thing: to train the next generation of soldiers. Today he meets new recruits. The training grounds are filled with fresh-faced recruits, young, eager, cocky. They've heard the stories about Knight, the bridge, the lone stand, the legend. They expect a larger-than-life hero. What they get is a limping soldier with a scarred face and damaged armor, leaning slightly on a reinforced crutch he still uses on bad days. One recruit whispers to another, "That's the Knight? He looks broken." Maybe the stories were over-exaggerated. Knight hears them. He's heard it before. He adjusts his grip on his modified shield, lighter now, compensating for his weakened shoulder, and addresses the group. "I'm Knight. I'll be your instructor for basic combat training. I know what you're thinking. I don't look like much. You're right. I'm not much. Just an ordinary soldier who refused to quit." A particularly cocky recruit steps forward, tall, strong, confident. His name is Eric. "No disrespect, sir, but we've already completed preliminary training. We know the basics. We were hoping for advanced techniques, elite tactics." Knight studies him. "What's your specialty?" "Aggressive offense, sir. Fast strikes, overwhelming force." "Show me." Eric grins, picking up a training sword, and demonstrates. He's fast, powerful, impressive. The other recruits watch with admiration. When he finishes, he's barely winded. Knight nods slowly. "Very impressive. Now attack me." Eric hesitates. "Sir, you're injured." "I'm always injured now. That's the point. Attack me like I'm an enemy." Eric shrugs and attacks, fast, aggressive, just like he demonstrated. Knight doesn't try to match his speed. Instead, he sidesteps, uses Eric's momentum against him, and taps him lightly with his practice sword. 3 killing blows in 5 seconds. Eric stumbles, shocked. The recruits go silent. Knight's voice is measured. "You're strong, you're fast, you're also predictable. Against an opponent who knows what they're doing, you'd be dead in seconds. Fancy techniques don't matter if you don't understand timing, positioning, and patience." Knight runs them through basics, shield formations, defensive postures, footwork. The recruits are disappointed. They wanted excitement, not fundamentals. "This is boring," one recruit mutters. "We learned this months ago." Knight stops the drill. "Then show me a proper shield wall." They form up. It's sloppy, gaps everywhere, timing off. Knight tosses a single training dummy at them. It breaks through their formation immediately. "You learned it," Knight said quietly, "but you didn't master it. There's a difference. In real combat, those gaps get you and your friends killed." He demonstrates proper formation, even with his damaged body. His positioning is perfect. The recruits see the difference. "Basics aren't boring," Knight continues. "They're what keeps you alive when everything goes wrong. Fancy moves are great until you're exhausted, overwhelmed, and down to your last weapon. Then the basics are all you have." Among the recruits, Eric stands out, but not in a good way. He's strong but struggles with the fundamentals. His footwork is off, his shield positioning is wrong. He tries to compensate with aggression, but Knight corrects him constantly. Other recruits notice. They whisper, mock. "Why are you even here? You're nothing special." Eric trains harder, stays after hours, practices until his hands bleed. Knight sees himself in this young soldier. desperate to prove something, working twice as hard for half the recognition. One evening, Knight finds Eric alone on the training grounds, attempting shield drills. "Your stance is still wrong," Knight says. Eric flinches. "I'm trying, sir. I'm not like them. Not fast or strong or naturally talented. I'm just ordinary." "Yes, sir." Knight sits on a nearby bench and gestures for Eric to join him. "Let me tell you a secret," Knight says. "You know what's special about me?" Eric shakes his head. "Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I'm not the strongest, fastest, or smartest. I'm just the one who keeps showing up." Eric looks confused. "But you held a bridge against an army. You're a legend." "I held a bridge because I was too stubborn to quit and too ordinary to know it was impossible." Knight meets Eric's eyes. Talented soldiers, they have options. They can be elite warriors, specialist troops, heroes. But soldiers like us, we have one path. Be reliable, show up, do the job, don't quit. That doesn't sound very inspiring. It's not supposed to inspire. It's supposed to be true. Knight stands, wincing slightly. Every legendary warrior needs ordinary soldiers to hold the line while they do legendary things. We are the foundation. And foundations don't need to be pretty. They need to be solid. Weeks pass. The recruits improve under Knight's instruction. Then comes their first training mission, a simulated goblin raid. The talented recruits rush forward, eager to prove themselves. The ambush happens exactly as Knight warned it might. The goblins, played by veteran soldiers, exploit every gap in their formation. The aggressive recruits are quickly killed in the simulation. Their fancy techniques fail under pressure. Eric, using Knight's basic defensive techniques, is one of 3 recruits to survive the full simulation. Afterward, the cocky recruits are humbled. One approaches Knight. "You made it look so easy." Knight laughs. "It's never easy. You just do it anyway. That's the whole secret. Doing it anyway." Months pass. The recruits graduate. Many become royal guards. Eric receives special commendation. Most improved, most reliable. At the graduation ceremony, Eric approaches Knight. "Thank you, sir. You showed me that ordinary is enough." Knight smiles. "You showed yourself. I just pointed you in the right direction. What do I do now?" "Same thing I do. Show up, do your job, protect people. Let the heroes worry about being heroes. We'll worry about keeping everyone else alive." Knight watches the new generation march off to their assignments. He feels complete. Not because he's recovered fully, his shoulder still aches, his sword arm is still weak, but because he's found a new purpose. He's not the knight who held the bridge anymore, not even the knight who guarded the princess, though he still does that when assigned. He's something new, the one who makes sure the next generation is ready, the one who teaches ordinary soldiers how to do extraordinary things. Months later, Eric returns from his first real battle. He finds Knight on the training grounds, working with a new batch of recruits. "Sir, I wanted to thank you." "For what?" "My squad was ambushed. The aggressive fighters panicked, but I remembered your training, basics, positioning, patience. I held the line until reinforcements arrived. My captain said I saved lives." Knight's smile is genuine. "That's what we do. We hold lines, we keep people alive. We're not flashy, but we're essential." Eric salutes. "I'm requesting to help train the next batch, if you'll have me." Knight returns the salute. "Welcome to the most important job nobody celebrates. Let's go." Eric grins. "Let's go." The training grounds fill with new recruits. Knight stands before them, scarred, limping, unremarkable. But beside him now stands Eric, and behind them other graduates who have returned to help train. A legacy forming, not of heroes and legends, but of ordinary soldiers teaching other ordinary soldiers how to be extraordinary through simple persistence. One new recruit whispers, "That's Knight? Doesn't look like much." Eric overhears. "He isn't much. That's the point. He's going to teach you that not being much is exactly enough." Knight addresses the new class. "I'm not going to make you heroes. I'm not going to teach you flashy techniques or legendary moves. I'm going to teach you how to survive, how to protect the person next to you, how to be reliable when everyone else has fallen." He pauses, looking at each face. "Some of you will become legends. Most of you won't. but all of you can become something more important. Soldiers people trust to do the job, no matter what. The recruit raises their hand. What job is that, sir? Knight's smile is warm. Showing up, standing your ground, going first when someone has to. Being ordinary in extraordinary ways. He taps his damaged shield. Now, let's begin. Basic defensive stance. Gonna do this drill 1,000 times until you can do it in your sleep, because someday you might have to. Knight had evolved, not into a legend. He'd always rejected that label, but into something perhaps more important. The one who ensures ordinary soldiers know they're enough. He wasn't the knight who held the bridge anymore. That was a moment in one battle. Now he was the knight who held hundreds of moments. Every time a recruit he trained survived their first battle. Every time one of his students held a line. Every time someone remembered that basics saved lives. His legacy wouldn't be measured in songs or stories. It would be measured in soldiers who came home, in lives protected, in the next generation learning that ordinary is extraordinary when done with purpose. Knight had found his peace, not in being celebrated, but in being useful. Not in being healed, but in being whole, despite his brokenness. And he was just Knight. And for the soldiers he trained, that was everything they needed. 1 year has passed since Knight began training the next generation. 1 year of teaching basics, of turning ordinary soldiers into reliable defenders, of building a legacy measured not in glory, but in lives saved. He's content with being useful, with mastering in quiet ways. Today, the kingdom has other plans. A grand ceremony is being held. The kingdom's greatest warriors are being honored. Knight received an invitation, but assumed it was protocol. He's coming to watch, not participate. After all, he already received his medal for the bridge. What more is there? Knight arrives and his breath catches. Standing in formation are legends, Prince and Dark Prince, now ruling together. Pekka, silent and imposing. Valkyrie, Wizard, the three musketeers, the kingdom's elite. Knight moves to stand with basic troops in the back, his place, but a guard intercepts him. Knight, you're needed up front. There must be a mistake. King's orders. Knight is escorted to the front, standing among elite warriors. He feels absurdly out of place. His armor's at basic, his scars visible. He still limps on cold days. Prince notices him, smiles warmly. Pekka nods, Valkyrie grins. About time you joined us up here. I don't understand. Just wait, Wizard says kindly. The king steps forward. Today we honor those who have defended this realm, warriors of extraordinary skill, courage, and dedication. He speaks of great battles, legendary victories, praises the elite warriors. Knight assumes his part is over. That was his moment at the bridge. Then the king's tone changes. But there's one warrior who embodies the heart of this kingdom more than any other. Not through magic or royal blood, but through something rarer, unwavering reliability, selfless courage, and the willingness to be ordinary in the most extraordinary ways. The king looks directly at Knight. Knight, step forward. Knight's legs feel like stone. Elite warriors part. He approaches the king, heart hammering. You've been afraid and fought anyway. You've been broken and stood up again. You've trained the next generation not to become heroes, but to be reliable. The king gestures, and attendants bring forward something covered in cloth. The king removes the cloth, revealing armor, perfectly crafted for Knight's damaged body, reinforced at his weak shoulder, balanced for his altered stance. A shield that fits his modified grip, and a title engraved on the breastplate. Champion of the Common Soldier. This isn't a battlefield rank. This is recognition that ordinary is enough. That the soldier who shows up, who refuses to quit, who goes first, that soldier is the foundation of every kingdom. The crowd erupts. Royal recruits Knight trained are cheering. Basic troops chant his name. Even elite warriors applaud with respect. Knight stands there, overwhelmed. He spent his life being just Knight, being ordinary, being the soldier no one notices. And now the entire kingdom is saying that's enough, that's valuable, that's worthy. I'm just knight. The king places a hand on his shoulder. Yes, and that is exactly why you matter. You showed an entire generation that ordinary soldiers doing their duty extraordinarily well are the true backbone of any kingdom. The princess steps forward, carrying Knight's old shield, the cracked one from his very first battle. She had it restored, cracked filled with gold, making the break part of the beauty. Your shield, broken but stronger for it, like you. Knight takes it, feels the weight, sees the golden crack, a permanent reminder of that first moment of courage. Thank you, Your Highness. Thank you, Knight, for every moment you stood between danger and people who matter, for showing us what real heroism looks like. The celebration moves to the Great Hall. Knight is surrounded by soldiers he trained. Eric approaches with others. Sir, what's it like being a champion? Knight looks at his restored shield, the golden crack, at these soldiers who look to him. Same as being a regular soldier. You show up, you do your job, you protect people who matter. He smiles. Let's go. They laugh and echo it back. Let's go. The next morning, Knight returns to his post outside the princess's chamber. Same duty, same position, but wearing his new armor, carrying his restored shield. The princess emerges. You're still here. I thought you'd want a day off. This is where I belong, Your Highness. You're a champion now. You could request any assignment. I know. I'm requesting this one. Standing guard, training recruits, being reliable. It's what I do best. She smiles. That's what makes you exceptional. You received the highest honor and your first thought was to return to your post. Someone has to go first, Your Highness. Later, Knight trains new recruits. Eric arrives, now an instructor himself. Ready for the new batch? Always. What are they like? Cocky and talented, think they know everything. Eric grins, just like we were. Then we'll teach them what we learned, that being ordinary is enough when done with purpose. The new recruits are assembled. They whisper when Knight approaches. They've heard about yesterday's ceremony. Knight stands before them, his golden cracked shield visible. I am Knight. I'm going to teach you how to be ordinary in the best possible way. Not through fancy techniques, but through showing up, standing your ground, and refusing to quit. One recruit raises a hand. Sir, what if we want to be heroes? Knight smiles. Then you've come to the wrong instructor. I don't make heroes. I make soldiers people can rely on. And if you do that job well enough, long enough, he taps his shield, you might discover that's the truest kind of heroism there is. That evening, Knight sits alone, examining his shield. The golden crack catches the lamplight. He traces it from top to bottom, following that first break, that first battle, the first moment when he chose to go forward, despite fear. Everything that came after started here. With being ordinary, being scared, with going first anyway. Tomorrow he'll train more recruits. Tomorrow he'll stand guard. Tomorrow he'll be ordinary in extraordinary ways. And that's enough, more than enough. It's everything. Knight's journey wasn't about becoming something he wasn't. It was about fully becoming what he'd always been. Reliable, persistent, willing to go first, refusing to quit. He learned that you don't need magic or royal blood to be a hero. You need courage when you're terrified, stubbornness when you want to give up, the willingness to be ordinary in a world that celebrates the extraordinary. Because kingdoms aren't built on heroes alone. They're built on thousands of ordinary soldiers who show up, stand their ground, and do their jobs even when nobody's watching. Knight proved that being just Knight was never a limitation. It was his greatest strength. And for every soldier who's ever felt ordinary, ever felt overlooked, ever wondered if they matter, Knight's story is proof that you do. That ordinary is extraordinary when done with purpose. That showing up is heroism. That you don't need to be special to be essential. You just need to be willing to go first, to stand your ground, to be reliable. Let's go. In the years that followed, Knight trained thousands of soldiers, and every recruit who felt inadequate learned the truth Knight embodied. You don't need to be legendary. You just need to be there.